FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Frank Foer and Mike Crowley here in the boardroom at the Ritz-Carlton, which has graciously allowed us to film here with FORA.tv. We've been doing wrap-ups of the convention every day. We'll be doing it every day through the rest of the convention. And tonight was Michelle Obama's night. How do you think she did?
I think she hit a home run. And, sometimes there are these events in politics where you can kind of sense people having a collective reaction.
Yeah.
There's sort of an immediate consensus, and you sort of feel it. I had emails coming in from friends saying she's a natural, this was a home run. There was something about it that just seemed like a real winner. It seemed effortless. She was engaging. She looked terrific.
Yeah.
And I thought they gave her a great speech, or she wrote it. They gave it to her. Who knows? But she hit a lot of great points. My sense is you concur.
I totally agree. I mean, it seemed like she was on message. That they were subtly hitting all these things that they wanted to hit, whether it was about faith or patriotism. At the same time, she was conveying that message. She totally seemed authentic, and I think that the whole process of humanizing Barack Obama and trying to make people fall in love with him again got off to a pretty good start tonight.
I agree. I mean, I think there were two things that jumped out at me about her speech. One was that she struggled a little bit with the sense. There have been a few problems. One is the sort of the caricature of her that, she's not proud of America and that she has kind of racial grievances. But also I think there's a larger sense that there's something a little bit cold and harsh about her. And I noticed in both the video intro and her speech itself, and in her brother's I thought, skillful introduction, was a real emphasis on Michelle as compassionate and loving, a daughter, a mother in the community, reaching out to people, a sister. I thought that was very shrewd. And then something I didn't, and I thought, that was not so surprising, and to hear her affirm her love of America, she had to do it, that's not so surprising. What surprised me a little bit was she got into kind of Hillary Clinton terrain there at the end, talking about, sort of what Mark Penn would call invisible Americans, people who work the night shift, which was actually Hillary Clinton made an ad about the night shift, and nodded to Hillary, and then kind of said, and these are Joe Biden's people too. And I thought that was really skillful as far as positioning her as someone who is trying to show that she can empathize with that section of the electorate, nodding to Hillary, but then also immediately right off of that, pulling Joe Biden in. I thought that was a very skillful moment.
I've always liked Michelle Obama, but I do think that she seemed preachy to me at moments during the campaign, and she's been very careful not to confuse herself with the candidate and to separate herself from her husband's political career. She's had this sense of detachment at times, but when I've heard her speak, like that time, the big speech she gave in California with Oprah and Maria Shriver, I thought it was a good speech, but I also thought that there was kind of a lecturing tone to it.
Yeah.
But tonight there was none of that. I thought it was totally personal, and just even in the delivery, there wasn't a hint of that kind of preachiness.
No, I mean she was very sort of bright and energetic, and she had this kind of, I don't know, her hair was like in more of a bob.
I think we gotta cut this love fest out.
Yeah, all right. We've gone too far, but we give her. I think we give her basically an A- at worst.
Props for Michelle.
So well done for Michelle.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Hillary maybe for a little bit, because I think one of the surprising things is the way in which the Clintons are kind of owning this convention. They've managed to dominate a lot of the news coverage. You walk down the street, you see people with Hillary placards, the Pumas, which we talked about last night, getting a lot of attention.
And I have to say, number one, it's just a reminder that the Clinton name has this kind of supernatural power in American politics and culture. I mean, there is just this endless fascination with them. It sounds like an obvious thing to say. It is an obvious thing to say, but I always underestimate the impact it's going to have. So when you get here, I think, the media kind of wants to gin up tension between the Clintons and the Obamas, but then when you really kind of see it in play...
Well, it's not just the media, it's the McCains, too.
Well,
McCain campaign.
Yes, and that was the point I was going to lead into, which is that I think that the McCain campaign and the RNC have appreciated that very acutely and have done an excellent job. Look, you have 15,000 media people out here in Denver. For most of the day, they don't have much to do except go to a panel and listen to New Democrats talk about innovation and technology as I did today, which was worthy, but there wasn't that much to write. Whereas the McCain campaign and the RNC is pushing this story of tensions between the Clinton camp and the Obama camp. They're rolling out delegates who are changing sides. And I think it shows a very shrewd understanding on their part that there's a lot of reporters sitting around looking for stories to write. There's not that much really going on during the day. And I think they've succeeded in kind of raising the tension level.
They can raise the tension level, but it shouldn't be all that difficult to diffuse. I mean, I think that my prediction, Bill comes in and knocks it out of the park and delivers the best case for Obama, because I think that he's a guy who's got a sense of moment and has a sense of where his reputation lies as the president and how to redeem himself.
I agree. I agree. Well, did I interrupt you?
No.
Don't interrupt the boss. I'm always cognizant of that.
You're fired.
I think we were talking earlier. I was telling you earlier that I think that something Bill has to do, particularly because we already had all the prelude and the primaries of the tension, but just the atmosphere of the last couple of days. I think that it's going to be the elephant in the room when Bill speaks, and I think now he's got to acknowledge what's been happening. He's got to acknowledge the tension, and I think he's a charmer, and I think what he can do is diffuse it with a little bit of humor and say, it's not easy for me hearing some of these things about the 1990s, and a little twinkle in the eye, get the crowd to laugh, have a moment where everyone kind of exhales and says, now it's out on the table, we can talk about it. And then from there, skillfully maybe say the reason if it seems like I get my back up, it's because the battles we fought were so important. We made a lot of progress. Barack is right. There was so much unfinished work to do. And that's why it's so important to elect him, because we have to continue those fights and finish those fights. And
You're
I think
the wrong racket. Go right to
we'll see if he takes my advice. If he does, I want to raise.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably a good point to wrap this up. We'll see how Bill does later in the week.
All right.
And we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks.
Thanks.